This is Mac OS Ken.
A positive sign for iPhone. Travelin' Tim travels to China. And iFixit busts up a MacBook Pro. It is Tuesday, the 26th of November, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by 1Password Extended Access Management, your solution for MDM and identity and access management. Learn more at 1password.com/MacOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Before we begin, all of the stories you're about to hear were written before incoming President Donald Trump made his tariff announcements on Monday. On day one, the returning exec says he plans to put a 25% tariff on goods coming into the U.S. from Mexico and Canada, as well as an additional 10% tariff on goods coming from China. Whether those will actually go into effect and what those countries will do in response is unknown. Whatever the case, all of this was written before that happened, and away we go. Remember all the talk of iPhone sales picking up once Apple Intelligence features started picking up? At least one analyst says he is seeing it. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note Monday from Morgan Stanley analyst Eric Woodring. Not only is he seeing near-term intent to upgrade rising for iPhone in a recent survey, Apple Intelligence is showing as a big reason for it. Listed among his key takeaways, intent to upgrade over the next 12 months is improving year on year more than his firm anticipated. It's not enough to move his expectation of 230 million iPhones shipped in fiscal year 25, but it is enough to be notable. Things seem to be turning around for iPhone in China. Not only is the Middle Kingdom no longer a year-on-year headwind for iPhone, upgrade rates and switching rates are decidedly positive. Despite just barely getting out of the gate, Apple Intelligence is already a top 5 iPhone upgrade driver, according to the analyst, with shoutouts for Siri, image enhancements, and ChatGPT integration as early killer apps. Of those surveyed who are not upgrading in the next 12 months, half say the slow roll for Apple Intelligence impacted their decision. Sounds negative, though Woodring spins it positive, pointing to pent-up upgrade demand heading into iPhones coming in the fall of 2025. And finally, prospective iPhone owners are willing to pay nearly $9 a month to get unlimited access to Apple Intelligence, implying $7 to $14 billion of services revenue upside in fiscal year 27. I do not understand people willing to pay $9 a month for they do not know what yet, but okay. Overall, says Mr. Woodring, survey results reinforce multi-year iPhone upgrade thesis. With stock in the company listed a top pick, the analyst has an overweight rating on Apple shares and a price target of $273. You know the illustration/meme of a dog in a hat, sitting at a table, drinking coffee, while the house the dog's in burns around him and the dog says, "This is fine." Yeah, that popped to mind yesterday while reading an article from Bloomberg. That had more than 20 corporate leaders from globe-spanning companies, including Apple CEO Tim Cook, meeting with China's premier Li Cheng on Monday. Set the day before a Beijing supply chain expo, the meeting lasted for over 1 hour and was said to be very scripted. While the incoming Trump administration and previously telegraphed, now reiterated U.S. tariffs were not mentioned specifically, a report from China's official Xinhua news agency had Li saying that Beijing is against decoupling and urged efforts to maintain the stability of the global supply chain. You know, Apple would probably like that too. Bloomberg points out disruptions to trade are a source of concern, especially for Apple, which makes the majority of its iPhones through Foxconn in the country and counts China as its biggest market after the US. For his part, and Apple's, Cook emphasized how crucial the Chinese supply chain is to the Cupertino company. In comments on the social media account of a state broadcaster, the CEO said he values Apple's dealings with China-based suppliers very highly and that Apple could not do what it does without them. Should Apple CEO Tim Cook talk to returning President Trump about the supply chain in China, he likely won't be talking about anything else during that meeting. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece over the weekend under the headline, "How Tim Cook Cracked the Code on Working with Trump." Quoting two key paragraphs, in the first Trump administration, the Apple executive pioneered a template for how business leaders should engage with Trump. Instead of sending government relations executives or lobbyists, Cook would appeal to Trump directly through phone calls and meals, said people familiar with the interactions. Cook then developed a meeting strategy with Trump where he would bring one data point to home in on a single issue in a meeting, the people said. That approach helped keep the meetings from spiraling in too many directions. Of course, 2024 Trump is not the same guy as 2016 Trump. Time has passed, and the crew around Trump has changed. For example, Cook was tight with Trump's daughter and son-in-law, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner during the first administration. Indications are that they will not be involved this time around. The Journal piece says a number of companies are considering whether to propose ideas directly to the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk and biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, or CEOs might try following the money to D.C. According to the report, one technology CEO said that with so many venture capitalists in Trump's orbit, he plans to lean more on his venture capital investors for influence in Washington instead of relying on traditional lobbying firms. Neither Apple nor the Trump transition team responded to the Journal's request for comment. Apple's dealing with an ongoing regulatory App Store complaint in India. This after a complaint by Apple that kind of seemed destined to fail. Apple Insider recounts the story. Back in 2021, the Competition Commission of India, or CCI, started investigating Apple after a complaint from a group called Together We Fight Society. Or maybe Together We Fight Society. Probably the second one. Anyway, they were complaining about, surprise, App Store fees and rules. In July of this year, Apple Insider says the CCI concluded that Apple has significant influence over digital products and services. In August of this year, the piece says the CCI had recalled the investigation due to a complaint from Apple. The Cupertino company said the CCI report had disclosed privileged and sensitive information, including sales numbers for India, which Apple does not disclose. The CCI asked the involved parties to return the reports and destroy all copies made before it issued new ones, with the sensitive information redacted. Now the CCI is pushing ahead, which has prompted a strange argument from Apple. According to the report, Apple claimed that Together We Fight Society didn't provide reasonable assurance that it had destroyed the report. As a result, Apple asked the CCI to take action against the Fightin' Fighters for non-compliance with its order and to withhold the revised report. Not surprisingly, that did not hold water with the CCI. Apple's request to hold the investigation report in abeyance was deemed untenable, according to Apple Insider. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, 1Password Extended Access Management. May I remind you what the term desire path means? Desire path means a footpath made through foliage, grass, and so on by repeated traffic rather than laid out by design. It's basically the quickest way to get where you want to go. You see them in parks, you see them in schools. You don't see them in the office, but they're probably there. The systems you and your tech people have laid out are there for the safety and security of your business. But your staff may be following a desire path, a quicker, easier way to get their work done. Cheers for working smarter, not harder. Jeers for creating security risks by using unmanaged devices, apps IT doesn't know about, and IDs that should have been deactivated forever ago. 1Password Extended Access Management can help you get a handle on all of that. It puts all those unmanaged devices, unknown applications, and rogue identities under your control, making sure every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible. 1Password Extended Access Management solves the problems traditional identity and access management and mobile device management miss. It is security for the way people work today. It's available now to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra and in beta for Google Workspace customers. Check it out at onepassword.com/macOSken. That is the number 1, onepassword.com/macOSken. You may have thought about taking apart a brand new M4 MacBook Pro, but the Mad Hatters at iFixit have gone and done it. Turns out, those things are still hard to take apart and put back together properly. Mac Rumors wrote up the teardown. According to the piece, removing the battery still requires removing the trackpad because the battery's adhesive tabs are under the trackpad hardware. Getting to the logic board is incredibly complex and tedious due to all the screws, and the cables are in the way. Plus, there are those pentalobe screws for which almost nobody has a screwdriver. Now, despite the inherent difficulty, there is good news for third-party repair peeps in the latest MacBook Pros. Another piece from Mac Rumors says not only are the speakers on the new laptops the most affordable to repair in about a decade, Apple is reportedly making the standalone thing retroactive. For MacBook Pros made from 2016 through 2023, if you needed a speaker replaced, you had to replace the entire top case, which included the battery and other components. Now, Mac Rumors has Apple telling technicians and authorized service providers that speakers are available as standalone repair parts for this fall's M4 MacBook Pro models. Additionally, Mac Rumors has what it calls a reliable source, indicating that Apple is now giving technicians access to individual speaker parts for all 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models with Apple Silicon, going back to models with M1 Pro and M1 Max. While that sounds like good news for do-it-yourselfers, not so fast. Mac Rumors says it's unclear whether parts for the older models will be added to the self-repair store. And finally today, one of the Apple Card perks is about to get less perky. 9to5Mac says the 3% cash back offering at Panera Bread is going away. That said, feels sort of negligible. According to Apple Card's messaging, starting the 1st of February 2025, using Apple Pay at Panera Bread will change from earning 3% daily cash back to the standard 2% with Apple Pay. I guess it could be a big deal depending on how often you go there and how much you spend. Anyway, you could always eat at Ace Hardware. Actually, 3% pickings are pretty slim. Panera was Apple's only 3% dining partner, according to the report. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by 1Password Extended Access Management. Learn more at onepassword.com/macOSken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.